and sublimation, repression and revelation. The human psyche is not structured to remain stagnant. What is not expressed outwardly will be transmuted inwardly. The energy that would flow into sexual intimacy seeks other vessels. In a woman, especially one conscious of herself, this energy begins to animate the inner world. Fantasies, dreams, symbols, and impulses may become more vivid, more erratic, or more demanding. Her inner figures, those mysterious inhabitants of the psyche, rise to the surface. They may take the form of the shadow lover, the neglected anima, or the powerful, autonomous archetypes that yearn to speak. When sexual energy is denied an outlet, it does not simply disappear. It withdraws to the subterranean levels of the unconscious and begins to manifest in disguised forms. One might encounter surges of creative inspiration, irrational irritability, or an unquenchable yearning for something indefinable. These are the stirrings of eros, cloaked in other garments. The woman may turn to art, poetry, philosophy, or spiritual devotion as channels for this instinct. She may also, if unconscious of these energies, experience neuroses, somatic symptoms, or relational distortions. What the body forfeits, the psyche must metabolize. A woman deprived of sexual communion may initially feel liberated, especially in a society that often defines her worth in terms of desirability or availability. There is a freedom in not being bound to the gaze or the grasp of another. She may discover aspects of herself that were buried beneath the expectations of romance or the ritual of seduction. She may develop her intellect, explore solitude, and cultivate independence. But if this path persists too long without conscious integration of eros, the psyche may begin to hunger, not necessarily for physical touch, but for symbolic union, for connection, reflection, mirroring. The archetypal lover lives in the soul. When the outer lover is absent, the inner one becomes more visible. He may appear in dreams, in projections, in the longing glances cast towards strangers. He is not flesh but myth, shaped by memory, fantasy, and unmet desire. This figure can be both guide and tormentor. If a woman does not recognize him for what he is, a psychological reality rather than an external necessity, she may become ensnared by illusions or haunted by deception. She may pursue endless distractions or idealize inaccessible partners. This is not moral failure, it is symbolic displacement. A woman without sex may also come face to face with the shadow of her femininity. In absence, the persona cracks. The mother, the maiden, the temptress, these masks become less tenable. She is left with herself, stripped of the relational mirrors that once affirmed her identity. This is a dangerous and sacred space, for here she must encounter the question, who am I when I am not desired? Who am I when I am not defined by another's need? If she dares to ask this question sincerely, she embarks on the path of individuation. Without the distractions of romantic entanglement, she may confront the deeper structures of her psyche, the wounded inner child, the suppressed rage, the ancestral voices. The silence left by abstinence can become a chamber of echoes where forgotten aspects of the self rise again. Some may bring grief, others joy, but all bring knowledge. Living without sex can also awaken a woman's spiritual hunger. The libido, in its broader sense, is not limited to sexuality. It is life force, psychic fuel, the current that animates passion, belief, and purpose. When not spent in the bedroom, it may surge into prayer, ritual, study, or service. The mystics knew this transmutation well. In their celibacy, they often found union with the divine. But this path is treacherous if pursued unconsciously. The repression of desire can masquerade as transcendence. The woman may deny her erotic self, calling it discipline or enlightenment, when in truth it is fear, shame, or resignation. Only when she integrates both spirit and body, both passion and peace, can she walk this narrow road without distortion. There are also dangers in prolonged sexual absence. If the instincts are denied too long, they can turn aggressive. One might see bitterness arise toward men or toward other women who live differently. One might notice rigidity in thought or coldness in demeanor. The soul shrivels when its deepest hungers are chronically unmet. This hunger may become displaced into compulsive behaviors, overwork, perfectionism, addiction to screens or substances. These are the symptoms of a libido unanchored, flailing for form. Yet, there is also great power in sexual abstinence if it is chosen consciously and integrated wisely. The woman learns to distinguish between longing and lack, between desire and dependency. She may discover that her worth is not contingent upon seduction. She may reclaim her energy, her time, her space. The noise of the world grows quieter. She may hear her own voice again and listen to its ancient wisdom. There is something initiatory in this path. Just as the virgin of myth is not merely a woman untouched by man, but one whole unto herself, so too can the modern woman living without sex reclaim her psychic autonomy. She may learn to love without possession, to give without depletion, to be alone without loneliness. She becomes a vessel not only of passion, but of presence. Still, there is no need to romanticize this state. Abstinence, like sexuality, is neither inherently sacred nor inherently pathological. Its value lies in how it is lived. Is it a shield or a sanctuary? Is it born of trauma, repression, or choice? These are the questions that must be asked. A woman who lives without sex must come to know the landscape of her own motives. Only then can she navigate its terrain without self-betrayal. In some cases, abstinence may lead to psychological crystallization. The inner world becomes over-defined, inflexible. Fantasies harden into fixed ideals. Relationships become impossible, for no one can match the imagined perfection. This is the danger of eros unexpressed. It can become inflated, untouchable. The woman may worship her own projections, unable to risk the imperfection of real intimacy. What was once potential becomes prison. But there is an alchemy available to her. If she dares to descend into the unconscious, to face the archetypes that emerge in the absence of touch, she may come to embody a deeper sexuality. Not one of performance or gratification, but of presence and power. She becomes erotic, not in act, but in essence. Her gaze penetrates, her silence speaks, her being vibrates with meaning. Such a woman may not need sex, yet she understands it. She does not reject the body, she honors it differently. Her energy is not scattered through fleeting encounters, but condensed, intensified. She walks with mystery, for she is in dialogue with her inner lover, her own masculine principle. She does not seek completion in another, though she may choose it freely. She has tasted the loneliness of selfhood and found in it a bitter but nourishing fruit. There are seasons to eros. There are times of blossoming and times of dormancy. Just as the earth lies fallow in winter, so too may the sexual life of a woman retreat. This does not mean death, it means preparation. The psyche, like the soil, must rest at times in order to be fertile again. In such seasons, the woman listens. She attends to dreams. She follows instinct. She gathers strength. But if the sexual winter stretches too long, she must ask herself, has something frozen within me? Is it safety I seek, or numbness? Have I mistaken self-protection for self-possession? These are not questions to be answered lightly. They must be lived. The body will tell the truth in its symptoms, its longings, its refusals. Ultimately, a woman who lives without sex walks a paradoxical path. She may be freer than ever, yet more confronted by her own depths. She may be untouched, yet inwardly ravished by images, archetypes, memories. She may find joy in solitude or ache in its silence. What matters is not the absence of sex, but the presence of self. Has she come closer to her essence or further from it? The erotic is not limited to intercourse. It is the fire behind creation. the shimmer in connection, the tremor of awe before beauty. A woman without sex does not cease to be erotic. She is invited to discover new expressions of eros. She becomes the artist of her own desire, the priestess of her own temple, the sovereign of her own domain. She need not apologize for her choices, but she must know them. For in knowing them, she reclaims them. Let it be said, sex is not a necessity, but it is a language. When that language is not spoken outwardly, it will be whispered inwardly. And when a woman listens to those whispers, not with shame, but with curiosity, she may find that what lives in her is more vast, more sacred, and more alive than she ever imagined. The woman who lives without sex continues to be initiated, not into denial, but into discernment. In the silence that follows physical abstinence, subtle voices gain volume. A glance that lingers, the sudden heat in the chest from a piece of music, the dream that clings to the waking mind with images of touch. All these are fragments of eros seeking recognition. The libido has not died. It has gone subterranean, pressing against the walls of consciousness like water behind a dam. And with time, that pressure must find release either in beauty or in breakdown. It is a mistake to believe that abstinence is sterile. On the contrary, it is often intensely fertile, psychologically, spiritually, imaginatively. The energy that might have moved between bodies turns instead into symbol, into intuition, into inner dialogue. The woman begins to dream more vividly. She becomes attuned to synchronicity, to patterns and repetitions that suggest meaning behind coincidence. She starts to live symbolically, not just literally. The erotic becomes mythic, diffused into her perceptions of the world, her understanding of time, her encounters with art and nature. She is no longer merely a participant in the world, she is in conversation with it. And yet, there are risks to this inner flowering. Without balance, she may fall into inflation, identifying too deeply with the archetypes that rise in absence of the physical. She may see herself as the eternal muse, the untouchable priestess, the isolated prophet. These roles may offer protection, but they can also isolate her from the warmth and messiness of embodied life. She may forget that to be fully human is to be vulnerable, porous, limited. Her inner richness must be weighed against her outer reality. She must remain rooted even as she ascends. Many women find in the absence of sexual life a new relationship with their body, often for the first time untouched by performance or expectation. No longer shaped by the need to please or seduce, the body becomes known on its own terms. She feels her hunger, her fatigue, her rhythms without filtering them through the desires of another. This can be a reclamation, a quiet revolution of presence. She may begin to move differently, dress differently, care for herself with a gentleness not dictated by the mirror, but by sensation. In this solitude, she learns to listen to the body as an oracle rather than as a battlefield. But again, this awareness brings its own discomforts. She may realize how long she has been dissociated, how often she has given her body away while withholding her soul. She may grieve the years she performed rather than lived, submitted rather than chose. Abstinence can sharpen this awareness. It peels away the illusions and shows the rawness beneath. She sees not only what she has lost, but what she has never truly claimed. And this grief is not weakness, it is the soil in which deeper strength grows. Some women, through abstinence, develop an affinity with solitude so profound it begins to feel sacred. They retreat not out of fear, but out of reverence, for their inner world, for the sanctity of their energy, for the rarity of silence in a world saturated with noise. They become temple keepers of their own psyche. Time alone is no longer an exile, it is a return. Yet even in this reverence, a tension remains. The self is not a sealed chamber. It longs also to be met, to be mirrored, to be penetrated, not only in the flesh, but in thought, in spirit, in presence. The absence of sex becomes a paradox. It frees her, but it also reminds her of what connection once offered. She is both full and hungry, sovereign and yearning. Projection becomes an ever-present phenomenon in this space. Without physical relationships to tether the erotic energy, the psyche may begin casting its inner figures onto the outer world. She may see lovers in strangers, omens in ordinary events, soulmates in passing conversations. This is not madness. It is the unconscious reaching outward, hoping for reflection. But if she is unaware of this process, she risks mistaking symbol for substance. She may invest in people who cannot hold the weight of her inner world. She may confuse chemistry with destiny, fantasy with intimacy. To navigate this, she must learn the symbolic language of her soul. She must track her dreams, observe her patterns, question her impulses. When she is drawn to someone, she must ask, is it him I see, or the forgotten part of myself he represents? The erotic, when turned inward, sharpens the mirror. Every desire becomes a clue, every infatuation a map. The outer world becomes a theater where the psyche stages its unspoken drama, and she must become both actress and audience, both participant and witness. Without sexual experience as a regular occurrence, the woman is also freed from the hormonal cycles that often govern relational attachment. She is less bound by oxytocin, by the chemical seductions that blur discernment. In this clarity, she may make choices less driven by biology and more by intuition. She may become discerning in her connections, unwilling to settle for mediocrity or masks. She learns to recognize authenticity not through words, but through energetic. Her standards shift, not in rigidity, but in depth. She is no longer looking to be completed, but to be met. There may come a point where the abstinence is no longer a reaction to past pain, nor a stance of spiritual practice, but a simple fact of being. She no longer needs to explain it, justify it, or even name it. It becomes the quiet backdrop to a life full of other textures: creativity, friendship, solitude, service, exploration. Sex is not rejected, it is contextualized. It is neither idolized nor demonized. It is simply one form of expression among many, no longer central but not dismissed. And still the ache remains, not always, and not for everyone, but often there is a pulse of longing that does not fade. Not for sex in itself, but for communion, for the moment of surrender, of merging, of being seen without defense. That ache is the thread that connects her to the rest of humanity. It is not a flaw to be fixed, but a reminder of her nature, a creature of skin and soul, of longing and light. She may never act on that ache, but it teaches her, it humbles her, it keeps her from becoming numb. If she is wise, she will not try to kill the longing. She will let it live in her like a quiet companion. Sometimes it roars, sometimes it whispers, sometimes it is silent, but it is hers, and in tending to it, not with desperation but with tenderness, she keeps herself whole. The woman who lives without sex learns to mother her own eros. She comforts it, she contains it. She does not force it into silence, nor does she let it dominate her choices. She lets it burn cleanly, without shame. In cultures that commodify sexuality, her way may be misunderstood. Some will pity her, assuming lack. Others will judge her, assuming rejection. Few will ask, with genuine curiosity, what this path has taught her. Fewer still will recognize the quiet power it has cultivated in her. She walks through a world obsessed with stimulation, carrying a deeper stillness. Her hunger does not rule her. Her solitude does not wound her. She is not empty, she is concentrated. For many women, there is a cycle in this journey. They move in and out of sexual expression as seasons shift. There are periods of silence and periods of song, times of touch and times of turning inward. Each phase teaches something different. Abstinence is not a destination, it is a stage, and even if it stretches for years, it does not define her. What defines her is the quality of her relationship to herself. how she meets her own desire, how she holds her own grief, how she honors her own depth. In some cases, this journey may prepare her for a different kind of love. Having known herself so intimately in the absence of sexual distraction, she is more capable of real intimacy when it appears. She does not need to be needed. She does not cling. She meets love not from scarcity but from sovereignty. And in that meeting something rare is possible, a love not born of hunger but of recognition. But whether or not that love comes is secondary. The primary relationship remains the one she has cultivated with her own psyche. In the darkness where no hand reached for her, she reached for herself. In the silence where no voice called her beautiful, she remembered her own name. In the nights where no one entered her body, she entered her own truth. This is not a path of ease, but it is a path of integrity. It strips away the illusions and reveals what remains when all performance ceases. What remains is not purity in the moral sense, but clarity in the psychological sense. She knows what she is made of. She knows where she bends and where she breaks. She knows what she longs for, and she knows she can survive its absence. She is not waiting to be chosen. She has already chosen herself. This choice is not prideful. It is not a rejection of others. It is a deep bow to the self that has endured. A woman who lives without sex and lives consciously carries a different frequency. Not better, not worse, just different. She is tuned to a deeper register. Her joy is quieter, her pain more nuanced. She listens before she speaks. She sees before she touches. She waits not out of fear, but out of knowing that the right moment must rise from within, not be forced from without. In this way, her life becomes a kind of prayer, not one spoken aloud, but one lived through the body, through attention, through presence. She may never return to sexual expression, or she may, and do so with a grace that can only come from having truly known absence. Either way, she is whole, not because she has all things, but because she has met all things within herself. The ache, the ecstasy, the emptiness, the overflowing, each has had its hour, and she has borne them all with eyes open. She is no longer afraid of her own depths, and because of that, no man, no moment, no mirror can define her. She is already home. In the end, when a woman lives without sex, she does not become less of herself, but more attuned to her inner world. She reclaims the power of her eros, not in its physical form alone, but as a source of creativity, self-acknowledge, and depth. Her solitude becomes a sacred container where desire is not denied but transformed. Whether she returns to physical intimacy or remains apart from it, she walks forward with clarity, not lack. She is not waiting to be awakened. She has already awakened herself. In this wholeness, she discovers that her essence was never dependent on another.